Good afternoon.
Thank you.
So it's Mr. Krongold that is conducting the examination.
Sorry. The Commission's next witness today is Han Dong. If the witness could please be affirmed.
May I please have your full name and spell your last name for the record, please?
Han Dong, D-O-N-G.
Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you're about to give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Dong.
Good afternoon.
Could the court operator please bring up document WIT 10? Mr. Dong, do you recall that you were interviewed by Commission counsel on February 21st, 2024?
I do.
Okay, and you've had and this is a statement of anticipated evidence that was prepared by Commission counsel after that meeting?
Yes.
And you've had a chance to review this document for accuracy?
Yes.
All right. Could the clerk please bring up HDD 6? So yesterday, Mr. Dong, you provided the Commission with a document entitled Supplementary Information to Statement of Anticipated Evidence of Han Dong,
Yes.
and that is this document.
That's right.
And that supplement clarifies 3 points in your statement of anticipated evidence.
Yes.
Okay. Subject to those clarifications, are these two documents, when read together, accurate to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any other corrections, additions, or deletions beyond those in the supplement?
I don't.
Okay. And will you adopt these documents as part of your evidence before the Commission?
I would.
Thank you. I'm going to start very briefly with your background, Mr. Dong. I understand you were born in 1977.
That's right.
All right. And during university, you got involved in Liberal Party politics.
Yes.
You were introduced to politics through a gentleman by the name of Ted Loico, who we'll hear from later today.
That's correct.
Okay. You ended up working on campaigns, as I understand it, at both the federal and provincial levels.
Yes.
All right. For the Liberal Party.
Yes.
Okay. And you worked as a political staffer and were ultimately recruited to work for a provincial MPP at Queen's Park in 2005. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. In 2014, you were elected the Liberal MPP for Trinity Spadina.
Yes, that's right.
And you ran again in 2018, as I understand it?
That's right.
All right. And there was an election, I think it was June 2018?
I think that's right.
Okay. And you were not successful in that election campaign?
That's correct.
I understand that Mr. Loico was your campaign manager in both of those elections. Is that right?
Yes.
So you were out of office after the 2018 Ontario election, and then in June 2019, the Liberal MP in Don Valley North, Geng Tan, announces he's not running again.
Yes.
And you throw your hat in the ring at the end of June 2019. Is that right?
In June, yes.
Okay. There is ultimately a contested nomination contest for that riding, or for representation of the Liberal Party in that riding. Is that right?
That's right.
And it's you and who are running against each other?
It was me and Ms. Bang Gujiang.
Okay. And I understand that the nomination contest was held on September 12th, 2019?
That's right.
I want to ask you a little bit about busing irregularities
Okay.
at the 2019 Don Valley North nomination contest, okay?
Yeah.
When you met with Commission counsel on February 21st of this year, we discussed whether you were aware of any irregularities in the 2019 DVN nomination contest. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And we also discussed how your wife had rented a bus on behalf of the campaign to transport voters to the nomination contest.
Yes, we discussed that. But later on, I was reminded there were two buses.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things you clarify in your supplement.
That's right.
Okay. I understand that you've also recently recalled that beyond the two buses that your wife was involved in procuring for the campaign, there was another bus that you became aware of bringing voters to the nomination contest.
That's right.
Okay. What can you tell us about that bus?
Well, I was the candidate. I was told by the campaign that there were students coming in a bus to vote. I was reminded recently that by my wife that, there was a bus coming with students.
There was a bus coming with students?
Or there was a bus, with students coming in to vote.
Okay. Can I just get a little more detail about that?
Sure.
Where were these people, students at? What institution?
I didn't see them, but I was told that they came from a student's residence in the riding.
Okay, what's the residence?
It's the residence at Seneca College.
Okay, a residence at Seneca College.
That's right.
What school were they students at?
I believe it's a private school.
Okay, what private school was it?
I think it's called the NOIC.
NOIC?
Yeah.
Do you know what that stands for?
I think it's New Orient. I don't know what IC stands for, maybe International College.
Okay. And had you ever had any connection to students from NOIC?
I had it. During my campaign, I remember visiting the residence and had a conversation with the students that came to the gathering. And I encouraged them to volunteer for my campaign. And for those who are eligible, I encouraged them to register as Liberal members so they can vote.
So they can vote in the nomination contest?
That's
right. Okay. Tell me about this meeting at NOIC with these students. When did that occur approximately?
I don't remember clearly, but it was in the summer between June and September.
Okay. How many students were in attendance?
I don't remember. It's very vague. Probably 20 students.
Okay. How did you come to be at this school? Were you invited there?
It was arranged by my campaign. It was a relatively short period of time for the nomination race. So my campaign and myself did our best to reach out to all kinds of groups in the riding, and schools included.
So your campaign arranged this for you to go to a school
Yeah.
to solicit support from students?
To ask for volunteers and support if they are eligible.
And who on your campaign suggested this or organized this?
I don't remember, but we had a small but very effective campaign team, so it could be one of them.
And who was that campaign team?
I remember my wife was taking part of the campaign team, Ted Loico, Elizabeth Batowski, she was there. Mainly these individuals, Johnson Thao, who eventually became my EA.
Okay. And these students who you spoke to, what language did they speak?
They spoke, I remember some of them spoke good English, but Mandarin.
Okay. And what country do you believe they were nationals of?
I assume that they were from PRC.
Okay, so international students from China.
Although I can't be sure that they were all international students. As I said, it's a private school.
Fair enough. This information about a bus coming to the nomination campaign, as I understand it from your supplementary statement, the purpose of them coming there was to vote, presumably. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you find out about that bus having been at the nomination campaign?
I was told by my campaign staff afterwards.
Okay. Again, do you recall who told you about it?
I don't
And
recall.
when were you told about this bus having come?
I can't remember exactly when, but it was shortly after the campaign. I mean, we talked about the nomination campaign, and that came up.
Okay, and when you say shortly after the campaign, does that mean shortly after September 12th, 2019?
That's right.
Okay, and so just so I understand it, someone on your campaign staff said effectively during the nomination vote, a bus showed up with a bunch of international students or students from NOIC, something to that effect that twigged the connection for you between campaigning in NOIC and the folks who arrived to vote for you.
That's right.
Okay. Do you know who arranged or paid for the bus?
You mean the bus with the students?
Yes.
I don't.
Do you know what kind of bus it was? Like anything you can tell us about that bus?
Like I said, I was busy shaking hands at the door, so I didn't see the bus, but I was told it was a school bus. So at the time, I assumed it was a shuttle bus provided by the school.
Okay. Do you know if there was any coordination between your campaign and whoever sent the bus?
I don't know.
All right. And when did you first convey this information about there being a bus containing international students that voted in your nomination race? When did you first convey this information to the commission?
I think it was when I first, it was quite recent. It was, like I said, after the interview, I was reminded by my wife that there was a bus that came in. And that was when.
Okay. Was it yesterday that information was conveyed to the commission?
It was yesterday as a supplementary information.
Okay. And when did your wife remind you about this?
Sorry?
Yesterday was April 1st.
Right.
When did your wife remind you about this bus?
It was after our initial interview, so after the 21st.
Okay.
I don't remember exact which day.
It's been about 6 weeks since April 1st. I'm sorry, it's been about 6 weeks since February 21st when you were interviewed. Roughly when in that period of time do you think that you had this conversation?
I think it's closer to yesterday, so maybe, I really don't remember, but it feels like towards the end of March.
I'm sorry?
It feels like it was towards the end of March.
Towards the end of March, okay. I understand that you were on a delegation to China from March 22nd to March 30th.
Yes.
Was it while you were in China that
No,
you had this?
I think it was before that.
Okay, so before March 22nd?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take any steps to advise the commission prior to yesterday about this information?
No.
Okay.
I spoke to my lawyer about this.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you about that.
Okay.
To put this in context, I take it you're aware that since February of 2023, there have been allegations in the media about irregularities in the 2019 Don Valley North nomination contest, right?
Okay.
Are you aware of there having been media reporting about irregularities in that nomination contest?
To February 2023?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And are you aware that those irregularities have specifically been, the reporting about those irregularities has specifically been around busing and foreign students?
No, I don't know what those irregularities were referring to.
Okay. So you were, all right. Were you following David Johnson's report about?
I read parts of it.
You read parts of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you following his testimony at Proc?
I don't recall
Okay.
watching it.
Do you recall whether he ever said that there were irregularities around the nomination meeting and the busing of people and students in relation to Don Valley North in 2019?
I don't recall.
Okay. When did you first become aware that there were allegations of irregularities around busing and foreign students in Don Valley North in 2019?
It was in Mr. Johnson's report, I saw that he mentioned irregularities, but I never connected irregularities to busing of students.
Okay. Did you read any of the media reporting that discussed that?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you know when you read the media reporting discussing irregularities around
I
students?
can give you a date.
Okay.
Can give you a date.
Was it before you spoke to the commission 6 weeks ago?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. When we interviewed you about 6 weeks ago, you recall that we discussed international students volunteering and voting in your nomination campaign?
yes, we did.
Okay. And we discussed busing as well?
I remember we discussing busing of seniors.
Okay.
Yeah.
The subject of busing came up, though.
Yes,
Okay. And you told us about the bus, and now you've clarified you think it was 2 buses that your wife rented, right?
yes,
And we asked you about irregularities that were described by David Johnson, right?
right,
And the thrust of your response was you'd like to know what the irregularities were.
that's right.
Okay. Did you understand from all of that context, the media reporting, David Johnson's report, maybe his testimony before Proc to the extent you were aware of it, did you understand from those questions that we were interviewing you because we were trying to get to the bottom of what happened in the Don Valley North nomination contest?
Yes,
Okay. Did you understand that our investigation included looking at allegations of irregularities around busing and international students when you were interviewed?
I didn't pay attention to, busing international students, because at the time I didn't understand it as a irregularity.
You didn't understand it as an irregularity?
That's right.
Okay. Why didn't you tell the commission about this earlier?
Earlier. Well, first of all, like I said, I was reminded after the interview. And, to be international student, I met them, canvassed them, signed up. They showed up to vote. To me, it's pretty regular. Yeah.
Why did you tell us about it yesterday?
Why did I tell you about it yesterday? I was having a conversation with my lawyer, and I said, it came to me.
Just a second, Mr. Dow.
Hopefully, sorry, if we can just make sure Mr. Dong is reminded not to be speaking about the contents of our discussions. I mean, if the point is that it came up in our discussion, that's fine, but I wouldn't want him talking about our discussions.
Do you have any sense why your wife reminded you about this?
We were talking about, this case and upcoming, or this ongoing inquiry. It's a regular topic of our conversation, and she reminded me.
Can I roll things back a little bit? I wanted to ask, why did you decide to spend part of your time during the nomination campaign visiting a school for international students?
Why did I spend time visiting international students?
Yeah, well, why did you solicit support for your nomination campaign from international students?
Well, it was a short period of time for the campaign, and I was reaching out to as many groups as I can, senior groups, student groups, looking for volunteers, and if they live in the riding eligible to vote, and I encourage them to sign up as liberal members.
We may hear some evidence from Mr. Loico that nomination campaigns don't usually target high school students because they're typically not motivated or reliable voters. Do you agree with that sentiment?
To me, when I met them, they looked, they're interested. I remember when I meet was in general, high school students, my impression is they're interested in the process and they would like to volunteer. So I can't tell you why that was Mr. Loico's observation.
Okay, you don't share that view.
I'm a candidate. I'm out on the street knocking on doors, and the operation of the campaign is up to the manager.
Okay. Could we call up document CAN 4728? So this is a redacted intelligence document. First of all, in fairness to you, I should make clear that we received your supplementary statement of anticipated evidence before this document would have been made available to you and your counsel.
Okay.
I also want to emphasize that this is an intelligence document. It's heavily redacted, and the assertions or statements made in here are not proven facts, okay? And in fact, right on the front page, if you could page down, please, you'll see about the third line down, the first readable sentence. It's a portion of a sentence, but it says, it was alleged that the PRC interfered in the Don Valley North Liberal nomination of September 12th, 2019 remain unsubstantiated. So there's a little bit of grammatical elision there, but I think the point that it remains unsubstantiated is included in that statement. The reason I want to ask you about this document is just to get your comments as someone who may have firsthand knowledge about some of this information. So if we could flip to the second page, please. And what this is there's a box here which is redacted information, and the italicized text there is a summary that's been provided. What that says is the redacted text references campaign efforts of Handong to register new Liberal Party members, including international students, to vote in the nomination race. First of all, do you agree that there were campaign efforts of Handong to register new Liberal Party members to vote in the nomination race?
Yes.
Okay. And do you agree that there were, that you made efforts to register new Liberal Party members, including international students, in the nomination race?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to turn next to one of the topical summaries that has come out. And this is titled Don Valley North DVN Liberal Party Nomination Race in 2019. And in fairness to you, sir, you received this document and had a chance to review it for the very first time this morning. And of course, that information is all coming after you'd provided us with your supplementary statement.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I should be very clear, there's a whole page of caveats here, which I think we've heard earlier in the day, but this is essentially a summary of intelligence holdings produced by the Government of Canada. It's subject to many, many caveats, and again, I'm not suggesting to you that the intelligence discussed here is proven fact. Again, what I'm hoping you'll provide is any firsthand information that may shed light on what is said here. So if we can flip to the second page, wanted to take you to, I guess it's let's call it 2.1. You see the first indent, the indented number 1? There's a line that says, intelligence reporting indicated, this is obviously in relation to Don Valley North Nomination Contest 2019, intelligence reporting indicated that buses were used to bring international students to the nomination process in support of Han Dong. Do you have any comments about the truthfulness of that statement? I'm sorry, not commenting on the intelligence reporting, of course, but on whether buses were used to bring international students to the nomination process in support.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, there's one bus
Okay.
in support of Han Dong. I just know that I was told that they came in to vote, and how they voted, and whether in support of me or my opponent. I really, there's no way for me to find out.
There's no what?
There's no way for me to find out how they voted.
Okay. Were they students who you think were the same ones who you solicited for your support?
I didn't see them, so I can't confirm.
Okay, but I'm just trying to understand, you seem to have made the link between what you were told about this bus of students arriving and going to this school to solicit support from the students.
Right.
Can you tell us anything about why you drew that link?
Because when my wife reminded me that there was a bus where students came in, I asked, I said, where they came from, and she indicated it was from Seneca residents.
Okay.
And that's when I draw the connection. I was there to canvass for their support.
And this is when you talked to I'm just trying to understand, because you were told by someone on your campaign, I think you said shortly after September 12th, 2019.
That's right.
Okay, about a bus having arrived.
Right.
And did you understand at that time that it was from Seneca College?
I don't recall, but when I talked to my wife recently about when she reminded me about the bus, I asked her where was the bus from, and she said it was from the Seneca residents.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. There was another line there I wanted to take you to. It's subpoint 2. Some intelligence reporting also indicated that the students were provided with falsified documents to allow them to vote, despite not being residents of DVN. The documents were provided by individuals associated with a known proxy agent. There's a footnote explaining what a proxy agent is. Do you have any knowledge of the information in this bullet point?
I don't.
I'm going to turn to another subject. And I should just state, and this is not for your benefit, Mr. Dong, but the document we've been referring to is can.som, S-U-M, period, 5 zeros and 1. Right. I don't expect you to make sense of that, Mr. Dong. I understand that when you let's skip ahead. You were, of course, elected.
Howard, can we just go back to the last point? I think
Sure thing.
because you were asking about the Seneca bus, and when you showed me the documents that's busing students, I automatically understood as you meant the bus was the bus that I was talking about. So I made an assumption that the bus mentioned in the document you just showed me is the bus that we were discussing earlier. Maybe I shouldn't have made that automatic.
No, that's okay. I think, I see. So you're saying that in point, I guess, 2.1, that first sentence that we read, it refers to buses,
Yeah.
and you made the assumption, if that's the right word, that that was referring to the bus from Seneca that you were made aware of.
That we were talking about earlier. That's why I made a correction that it was one bus.
Yes.
But I don't think it's fair for me to make that assumption.
Right. I see your point. And I think on the next bullet point, I already asked you if you had any comments about that. Is there something else you wanted to say about number 2.2?
No.
Okay. I'm going to turn then to another subject. You were, of course, elected to be the MP. Well, you ultimately won the Don Valley North nomination race, and then won in the general election in 2019 and became the MP for Don Valley North. I understand that when you were serving as you've been serving as an MP, you have had communications with consular officials from a variety of countries, including from the People's Republic of China. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And when we interviewed you, we talked about your conversations with the PRC Consul General, specifically about the two Michaels,
Yes.
Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig?
That's right.
Okay. I'm going to take you to another topical summary. This one is titled Intelligence Relating to Handong and Communication with People's Republic of China Officials Regarding the Two Michaels. And I'm going to, of course, make the same caveats as before. This is a summary of Government of Canada intelligence holdings. There's an entire page of qualifications, and I should perhaps note that one of those is that the document does not indicate whether the information being described was translated from another language. I'm again not suggesting that what's written here is true or is a proven fact, and the purpose of what I'm about to ask you is just to get your firsthand information on the subjects discussed. My first question for you is, when you spoke to the Consul General for China about the two Michaels, what language were you speaking in?
Mandarin.
Mandarin?
Yeah, mostly Mandarin.
All right. So if we can flip to the second page, you'll see there are 6 points here. And what I'm going to ask you is essentially whether there is any correspondence between what's written in this document and any conversations you had with the Consul General about the two Michaels. Okay?
Okay.
So point number 1 says, in early 2021, Han Dong, henceforth Dong, MP for Don Valley North, expressed views in private on a range of topics, including the state of PRC Canada, the PRC Canada relationship. Is there any correspondence between that and your conversations with the Consul General?
I don't recall that conversation, but after the news article came out, confirmed with my office that it was likely that we had a conversation in early 2021.
Okay, are you able to say one way or another whether that conversation might have included discussions about the state of the PRC Canada relationship?
It's possible. I don't remember, but it's possible.
Okay. The next sentence is, Dong made it clear he was not speaking on behalf of the government of Canada, but sharing his personal views on the matter. Do you recall, or could that have been something that you said in this?
It could.
Okay. Point 2, Mr. Dong's comments focused primarily on the House of Commons Uyghur genocide in Xinjiang motion. Again,
It's possible. I don't recall specific, but it's possible.
okay. The two Michaels, Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor, were also raised in the broader context of Sino-Canada relations.
I always bring up advocate for early release of the two Michaels, so it's possible.
Okay. So, and I'm sorry, you just said that you always bring up the two Michaels?
I always advocate for early release and improve their conditions, so it's possible.
Okay. And do you recall if that would have been the subject of any of your conversations with the Consul General?
Yes,
Yes, it would have been?
it would have been.
Okay. Number 3, on the two Michaels, MP Dong emphasized that the Canadian public believed that the PRC's approach to the two Michaels was wrong and lacking justification. Is that, or might that have been something that you said in a conversation with the Consul General?
It could be.
Canadians believed that Canada was merely fulfilling its legal obligation in relation to Meng Wanzhou, Chief Financial Officer for Huawei.
I don't remember that, but possible.
Okay. Number 4, more precisely, MP Dong's reference to the detention of the two Michaels came in the context of MP Dong noting the difficulty of getting people to change perspective once particular positions solidified. I'm going to keep going because that seems a little general.
Yeah.
MP Dong expressed the view that even if the PRC released the two Michaels at that moment, opposition parties would view the PRC's action as an affirmation of the effectiveness of a hardline Canadian approach to the PRC. Is that something you recall saying or think you might have said? Or?
I'm trying to translate this into Chinese and just don't make any sense. So not sure. I don't remember. But it doesn't make a lot of sense here
Okay.
when I read this right now.
It doesn't make a lot of sense in what way?
Well, I think whenever I talk about the two Michaels, I'll try to show that early release of the two Michaels is good for the relationship between the two countries. Therefore, it's something that the Chinese Canadian community would like to see. So but I'm a little confused by the information here. I don't quite get the logic here.
Is it might be hard to.
Il est peut-être difficile d'interpréter exactement ce que veut dire le résumé, je l'apprécie. Mais ce qui est écrit là, est-ce que vous jugez que ça s'aligne ou ça ne s'aligne pas avec les sentiments que vous...
I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't remember, but I mean, the logic here kind of doesn't add up for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Point 5, MP Dong stressed that any transparency provided by the PRC in relation to the two Michaels, such as a court hearing or a court date, would help to placate Canadian public opinion and provide some valuable talking points to his own political party against the opposition. So, same question, is that something you recall saying or you think you might have said?
The first half of the sentence, stressed the transparency, such as a court hearing and date, and I think it's possible that I would advocate for that. And I'm not sure about the second part.
Okay. Can you help us out at all about the second part in terms of whether that's something, if you don't recall? Well,
I don't recall saying that.
You don't recall saying that?
No.
Okay. Number 6, MP Dong also noted that a Canadian hardline approach to the PRC would be detrimental to the Sino-Canada relations.
Well, it's possible. I mean, I don't recall saying that exactly, but it's possible.
Okay. I'm going to move on to another subject now. I'm going to rewind the tape a little bit, and I want to just focus your attention on the period when you were out of government. So I think it was roughly about June 2018, whenever the Ontario provincial election occurred, until when you won your seat for the first time as an MP on October 21st, 2019.
Okay.
Okay. So in this period from June 2018 till October 21st, 2019, did you have any contact with PRC consular officials?
Not that I recall.
Not that you recall?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Finally, I wanted to ask you about Michael Chan. I understand that you've known him, well, how long have you known him for?
I remember I worked on his very first by-election. That was in 2007.
Yep.
I've met him before at events. So it's safe to say, a little bit before 2007.
Okay. And you both would have been at Queen's Park at the same time, I take it?
I was a staff person until 2014, elected as an MPP. So, yeah, he was elected in 2007, and worked in his capacity as an MPP and later on cabinet minister.
Okay. After you lost in the 2018 provincial election, what was the nature of your relationship with Michael Chan at that point?
It was very, I don't remember we met or chatted often after 2018's defeat. There could be, phone calls and meetings, talk about the state of Chinese community. Yeah, it wasn't very often. I respect him as a senior leader in the community.
Did he play any role in your decision to run for the Liberal nomination in Don Valley North?
In my decision, no. But he did call me as soon as Mr. Gantan announced that he's not seeking re-election. Michael was one of the first one call me to tell me that information.
Okay. Did he play any role in the nomination campaign in Don Valley North in 2019?
I remember he came to my announcement seeking nomination, and then later on probably came out once or maybe twice to canvass with me at the door, but that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Dong. Those are my
Okay.
questions for you.
I have one question for you, Mr. Dong.
Sure.
And I'm going back to the first topic that have been explored by Matt Prangel. At the time that the allegation of irregularities surfaced in the medias, did you try to get more information about what they were all about?
I did. I remember I did ask some of the key people in my campaign. Ted included my wife as well. Asking them if they remember or spotted any irregularities or what this could be referring to, and the answer was no.
Okay, but at the time, did you look at the media's news that have been reported, or not at all?
I remember reading the news articles, and I remember we were talking about how these pictures were pulled off my social media page, and that's when I learned a bit more about rented two buses, and they're not the same bus as the picture shows, and so that's the time that we raised some questions about the
Yes.
media reporting.
So at that point in time, did you realize that actually the allegations were in relation to international students transported by buses?
The media article said that, yes.
Okay, and you knew that right after the media reported these allegations?
Yeah, as alleged by the article, yes.
Okay, can you tell me when it was, approximately?
I think the news article, to my memory, it was in February 2023. February 2023.
Yeah, thank you.
I also just wanted to indicate that the second topical summary referred to is can.sum2. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll begin the cross-examinations. The first one is counsel for Michael Chung.
Good afternoon. Sir, do you accept that the People's Republic of China is attempting to interfere in Canadian democracy?
I've seen reports about that. I personally haven't seen any evidence of it.
So you don't accept it, or you do?
I've never personally seen any evidence of it.
That's not the question I asked you. I haven't seen any evidence of it personally myself, but we have very serious allegations, and we're all here because every federal political party agreed that a judge needed to be appointed to investigate these very issues. So I'll ask you again, do you accept
It's
that the
possible. It's possible.
It's possible. All right. Now, I understand that you do not believe that there was any interference in your nomination contest. Isn't that right?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
All right. If it turns out that you're mistaken about that, and in fact, there was interference by the PRC, if that turns out to be true, do you accept that that would be foreign interference in our democracy?
Could you ask the question again?
Yes.
Sorry.
If it turns out, despite your belief that this didn't happen, if it turns out that in fact it did happen, do you accept that that would be an outrageous intervention by the PRC in our democracy?
Yes.
Thank you. And if it turns out that the People's Republic of China helped you to your seat in the House of Commons in this way, do you accept that the people of Canada have the right to know that?
Yes.
Thank you. And do you accept that if voters at your nomination contest or on polling day knew that you were getting this sort of help, some of them might not have supported you?
I think that's a fair statement. Yeah.
Thank you. Do you accept further that the Canadian Security Intelligence Service is obliged by its statutory mandate to investigate threats to the security of Canada,
Yes.
to investigate this sort of allegation?
Yes.
Thank you. Some members of your party, or maybe I should say your former party, have suggested that to raise concerns about foreign interference in your nomination contest is a kind of anti-Chinese racism or xenophobia. Do you agree with me, sir, that it was not a matter of racism on the part of the CSIS, on the part of our intelligence agencies, to explore this matter and try to get to the bottom of it?
I haven't seen any concrete evidence, so I can understand why those comments were made.
I'm not sure I understood your answer. You can understand why which comments were made.
The comments you just referred to, some members of the Liberal Party
All right.
see this as a anti-Asian sentiment.
All right. But my question for you is, sitting here now, you've just told me that you accept that the service has a statutory duty to investigate threats to the security of Canada. If the service pursues this matter in Don Valley North, it's not being racist in doing so, it's just doing its job. Don't you agree?
I think I think CSIS has duty to investigate any writings or election races if they receive credible information that there was signs of foreign interference.
Yes, I quite agree. And in doing so, it's not acting in a racist way, it's just doing its job.
That's right.
Thank you. And do you accept finally that if ordinary Canadians reading these reports in the media are alarmed and concerned and worried, that isn't necessarily coming from a place of anti-Chinese racism? That's a good faith concern, at least in some cases, hopefully in all cases, for the health and integrity of our democracy. Do you accept that, sir?
I accept that, yeah.
Thank you. Let's come on to the buses, please. When you met with the commissioner, you were called one bus. As of today, we're up to 3, right?
When I had the interview, my memory had 1 bus, and then quickly, I correct my records, and it was 2 buses that my campaign rented.
You say you did so quickly?
Sorry?
You say you corrected this quickly?
I think was within days after the interview, I correct that it was 2 buses my campaign rented.
All right, well, we only found out about it yesterday for it being a second bus, and then it turns out that a third bus came up over lunch. Doesn't seem very quick to me, sir. Are you saying that the commission hasn't informed us in time, or is it instead that maybe you didn't inform the commission as quickly as you recall?
I forgot exactly when we correct the records as to how many buses my campaign rented, whether 1 or 2. I forgot exactly when, but, we voluntarily correct that record.
All right, the third bus is apparently associated with a school, a high school, called NOIC Academy, right?
Yes.
Thank you. And that school is located at 50 Featherston Avenue, Markham, right?
Right, that's the current address, but previously it was in North York,
Previously being in 2019?
in 2019.
Where was it located in 2019?
I don't recall. But
Was it in your riding?
The residence is in my riding.
Yes, but was the school in your riding?
I don't recall, but the residence was in my riding.
Yes, but I want to know where the school was, because the school, when it was located at 50 Featherston, which is apparently where its current location, is not in your riding. It's in the riding of Mary Ing. At the time, in 2019, when you went to campaign at this school, was it in your riding or in someone else's riding?
I don't recall its previous address, but I think they moved to Markham in the last, like it was after 2019.
So I'm not concerned with its exact address, but I want your evidence. I want you to tell the commissioner under oath whether that school in 2019 was located in your riding or not.
I can't give you that information because I don't recall, but I can tell you for sure that the residence is in the riding, and that is the address that would as part of eligibility.
Sir, in 2019, when you were campaigning for the nomination, were you in the habit of leaving your riding and campaigning in neighboring ridings?
I always campaign in my riding.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you whether you were in the habit of leaving your riding and campaigning in neighboring ridings.
No.
Did you ever do so?
During my nomination race?
Yes.
No.
But you're not sure whether this school that you attended was in your riding or not.
I attended the residence at Seneca. That's where I first met the students. I did not meet them at their school.
I see. All right. So you're saying that you attended at their residence and the residence is in your riding.
That's correct.
All right. Who organized for you to go to the residence of a bunch of students to campaign there?
My campaign staff organized the gathering, they organized my meeting with the group of students. They probably contact someone that was looking after these students. I can't give you more information than that.
You met them at their residence?
I met them at the residence.
In their rooms?
To the best of my recollection, was not at their room. It was like a meeting space at the residence.
All right. Turning to these other 2 coaches, you say that your wife organized the rental of those, right?
Yes.
And they traveled around on nomination day, 12th of September, and picked up voters, right?
To the best of my knowledge, they have prearranged pickup spots, mainly at senior homes, where previously I canvassed. So I was at the nomination meeting shaking hands, but I have reason to believe that it was prearranged, and then it wasn't then driving around the neighborhood picking up random people.
How many stops did they make?
I don't know.
Have you made any investigations into it? You know this has been hanging over you for nearly a year, well, more than a year now. Have you made any investigations into how many stops these buses made, whether they stayed in the riding or not?
So to the best of my knowledge, there are three senior homes that, actually maybe two senior homes, they would have picked up senior with pre-arrangement.
And you're sitting here now and telling the commissioner with confidence that that is true.
Yes.
Have you sought to obtain any manifests or any documents about these buses to know for sure where they traveled, where they stopped, who they picked up?
No, again, I'm going by memory, and that's how I remembered.
You're going by your memory,
It was arranged to pick up seniors at their senior homes,
according to your memory,
according to my memory.
and you don't have any documents to confirm your memory,
I don't have any documents.
and you haven't sought to obtain any documents.
My job is a candidate, and that's up to
Well, your
you.
job at the moment, sir, is to give evidence to a judicial inquiry. Have you made any efforts to find documents to back up your memory, which at times seems a little weak, if you don't mind me saying, sir?
I do my best to, but I have not, asked for any document to prove where the bus stops were.
Sir, did you go to New York in the summer of 2019?
2019?
Yes.
No, I traveled to New York earlier in the day. I think I remember it was like weather was cold earlier in 2019.
Sorry, earlier than 2019?
No, earlier in 2019.
Oh, earlier in
Probably
2019.
I can't, I don't remember which month, but I remember it was colder.
All right. So at some point in 2019, you were in New York. Did you have a meeting while you were there with an official of the PRC's United Front Work Department?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Have you ever met someone from the United Front Work Department?
No, not to my recollection.
All right. Finally, sir, in your statement of anticipated evidence, you seem to express some disappointment or frustration that a conversation you had with the Consul General in Toronto was recorded. You recall that?
I don't, we can, I mean, it's
Well, let me
right here.
put it to you this
We
way.
can put it up. I don't know which sentence you're referring to.
Let me put it to you this way. Do you have any objection to having had a phone conversation with this official recorded?
I think it's reasonable to assume that, any Canadian, if that's true, having their phone tapped, it will not be very appreciative. Doesn't matter who they're talking to.
Yes, of course, you don't know whether your phone was tapped or whether instead the phone of the person you were speaking to was tapped.
I don't know that. But I don't know if that's true, if my phone was listened to by somebody.
Thank you. You've been very helpful.
Thank you. Before you start, I have one question. Do I have to understand that the two buses that have been rented by your wife were used to transport senior citizens?
Yes,
Okay, the two of them.
two of them.
Thank you.
Let me just add additional explanation. They were arranged to pick up seniors, but we didn't turn away anybody who wants to get on the bus and go to the nomination votes. So we don't turn away. That's my understanding.
It's your turn now.
Thank you. Mr. Dong, have you received any subpoena or summons from the commission to provide your evidence here today or to provide any documents or information in connection with this inquiry?
I think I was summoned to come here and be a witness.
Okay. And when was that, sir?
I read the summons yesterday.
Sorry?
I read the summons yesterday.
Is that, to your understanding, the first time you received it, or you?
First time I've seen it, yeah.
Okay.
Probably received it earlier by my, lawyers, but.
Okay. It's been widely reported that the Canadian security officials reported foreign interference concerns surrounding your nomination campaign in the fall of 2019. We've heard evidence about that today, and I believe on previous days. You aware of those reports?
Are you referring to media reports?
Yes, among others.
Yes.
Okay. And my question to you is, were any such concerns about your nomination process or your campaign's nomination, were they raised with you or discussed with your campaign during 2019?
Sorry, I don't understand your question.
Right. Did anyone, for example, CSIS, the RCMP, or any other police or security agencies discuss with you or your campaign irregularities relating to the 2019 nomination contest?
No.
Okay. And did any individuals that work for the Liberal Party or in the Prime Minister's office discuss any concerns about irregularities regarding that nomination process with you or your campaign in 2019?
No.
Okay.
Not that I know.
And are you aware that, and I think you are, that prior to this commission, the Right Honourable David Johnson was appointed on March 15, 2023 as independent special rapporteur to look into foreign interference in the 43rd and 44th general elections?
I'm aware of that.
Okay, and are you aware that Mr. Johnson issued a first report on May 23, 2023 in connection with his mandate?
I'm aware of that.
Okay, and perhaps while I ask the next question, if I could ask that COM quadruple 0104 be called up, which is a copy of the report. And I would ask that once that's up, we go to page 23 at the end, towards the end of it. Do you have that before you, Mr. Dong? It's coming up soon. 23 of the report. You have that? Okay, at the very end, you'll note, and I'm going to quote, it says, and this will continue into page 24, this is, Mr. Johnson says, in reviewing the intelligence, I did not find evidence that Mr. Dong was aware of the irregularities or the PRC consulate's potential involvement in his nomination. You see that?
I see that.
Okay, I want to ask you some questions about that finding. Sure. First, were you ever contacted by Mr. Johnston or anyone on his behalf in connection with his investigation that led to his first report?
No.
Okay. And would you agree with Mr. Johnston's suggestion that you were not personally aware of any irregularities or the PRC consulate's potential involvement in your nomination?
I agree with that.
Okay. And Mr. Johnston, if we go back to page 23, he also, same last paragraph, he also says the following. Irregularities were observed with Mr. Dong's nomination in 2019, and there is well-grounded suspicion that the irregularities were tied to the PRC consulate in Toronto with whom Mr. Dong maintains relationships. Do you see that statement?
Yes, I do.
Okay, do you agree with the statement?
I don't know what I'm agreeing to because I don't know. I'm not privy to any documents that supports the statement. So
okay, so let's break it up a bit. Do you agree that? Do you know what irregularities Mr. Johnston is referring to?
I don't.
And do you know who observed them?
I don't.
Do you know what the irregularities were that were tied to the PRC consulate in Toronto?
I don't.
What about the last statement? Is it correct that you maintain relationships with individuals at the PRC consulate in Toronto?
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
Okay, who in particular? Can you give us some names?
I had a conversation with Consul General Han Tao. His office will call my office to arrange a phone call and we talk, and especially around the Chinese holidays, so, yeah.
Anyone else of note that you regularly stay in contact with?
No, nothing, nobody I recall that I regularly having conversation with.
Okay. Now, Mr. Johnston has been quoted in the press as indicating that the reason he did not contact you regarding his first report is because he was aware that you had litigation outstanding against the Global News Corporation and Chorus Entertainment regarding stories they ran about you suggesting that you were somehow involved in the foreign interference campaign. Do you know anything about that?
I vaguely remember that.
Okay, and so I understand that Mr. Johnston didn't actually speak with you, but were there any attempts to speak with you? Did he or his staff ask for an interview?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, and is it correct that you commenced such litigation against Global and Chorus?
Yes, the matter is before court.
Okay, and what stage is that at, sir?
We're in discovery.
Okay. Has a trial date been set?
I'm not sure if I can.
You don't
answer
know?
that. I don't know.
Okay. And Mr. Dong, switching subjects, on February 22, 2021, there was a motion that passed in the Commons by a vote of 266-0 on a multi-party basis. It was a motion sponsored by MP Michael Chong, which basically recognized that the PRC had engaged in acts of genocide against the Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims and condemning such actions. Do you recall that motion, sir?
I recall that motion.
Okay, you didn't vote on that motion, did you?
I don't think I did. I abstained.
And why didn't you vote in connection with that motion, sir?
Because I haven't seen any, I haven't seen documents to convince me, yes, there is a genocide, or no, there isn't a genocide.
Okay.
So I think the fair thing for me to do is to abstain.
Okay, so your abstention was deliberate in the sense it was a conscious decision to abstain?
Yeah.
Okay, and isn't it also correct that 2 years later, on February 1, 2023, there was a Liberal private member's motion which built on Mr. Chong's original motion, also condemning the treatment of Uyghurs?
Commissioner, I believe we're approaching or outside of the scope in this current line
I'm
of
sorry,
questions.
I was looking at your,
It's Matthew Ferguson for Commission Counsel. I believe we're a bit outside of the scope at this point.
I tend to agree, so maybe you can explain where you're going?
Well,
If I may, Commissioner, I want to remind my friend that he's venturing into parliamentary privilege. The member benefits from privilege of the House, including his thought process and his deliberations as to why he did or did not vote in respect of a particular matter. And that privilege should be respected by the member and by the Commission, please, and my friend.
with respect, on the privilege point, I'm not asking him to disclose what he said or didn't say in the House. His reasoning was. With respect to the relevance point, I think it's relevant to understand and for this commission to know the extent to which, in connection with the issues that the commission is considering foreign interference, the extent to which Mr. Dong has been prepared to or not speak out against foreign actors such as the PRC.
He already gave the answer in terms of why he didn't vote in favor of the motion that have been presented. So I suggest that you move on another topic.
Okay, can I get an answer to the question about the second follow-up motion, the Liberal motion to follow on Mr. Chong's? Did you vote on that one, sir?
Which motion are you talking about?
There was a motion presented, private member's motion on February 1, 2023, which essentially...
I think my voting record is public, and you can find out how I voted.
Okay, fair enough. Sir, you resigned from the Liberal caucus on March 2023?
Yeah.
Okay, and did you discuss resigning with anyone from the Liberal Party, the Prime Minister's office, or any other minister's office?
Not with PMO.
Sorry, I didn't understand the last
Not
part.
with the Prime Minister's office.
What about anyone else in the Liberal Party?
I definitely talked to the whip.
Sorry?
I talked to the whip.
Okay.
I went to the House and made a statement, so.
No, but that was your ultimate decision. In terms of the wisdom or not of resigning from caucus, was that informed? Was your decision informed by anyone other than you?
Sorry, Commissioner. With respect to my friend again, I think we're in the same territory that is outside the scope, so join the other calls for my friend to stay inside.
No, the fact of the matter is, Your Honor, that the witness has resigned from caucus amid these allegations, and I think it's relevant to understand whether or not the Liberal Party agrees, shares in the concerns, or not, being one of the actors that's implicated, or that's at least involved in these concerns about foreign election interference.
I permit the question, but it's going to be the last one because your time is over. But I permit this question, so you have to answer.
What's the, could you restate the question?
Sir, I'll move. The question related to was a lead-in to the following. You've been out of caucus since March 2023. You've indicated in the press that you hope to rejoin caucus and that you also had a meeting with Minister LeBlanc back in September expressing the hope that you would rejoin caucus, and he indicated that he would speak to the Prime Minister about it. Has anything come of that discussion?
No, I don't have anything to share on that.
You're still out of caucus, though, correct?
I'm independent member, yes.
And you wish to rejoin caucus, sir?
One question? Is that the same question?
You're not prepared to answer it?
Oh, yeah, I'm prepared to rejoin the caucus.
Sorry, I didn't hear that, sir.
I'm prepared to rejoin the caucus.
Would you like to, is what I asked you.
Oh, I thought you asked me if I'm prepared. Yes, I would.
Okay, thank you. Those
Thank
are my
you.
questions. Thank you.
So Human Rights Coalition?
Good afternoon, Mr.
Good
Dunn.
afternoon.
I want to dig a bit more into the allegations of coercion. In cross-examination of the panel this morning, Mr. Ishmael agreed that although the ballot box is secret, it may be possible for authoritarian regimes to find out how someone voted, and he agreed that even the fear of these possibilities might make members of diaspora communities vulnerable to coercion in a nomination race or election. Do you agree with him?
That's a long sentence. There are a lot of elements to it. I guess anything is possible.
Do you believe this could have happened in the context of your nomination contest?
Again, it's possible, but I didn't see any evidence to support that.
If it happened, would you have seen evidence of it?
Not necessarily. But like I said, I haven't seen any evidence.
Does your campaign staff screen volunteers?
What do you mean screen?
Do they screen, do they conduct background checks?
No, we don't conduct background checks. I mean, they ask questions, their name, their availability, what they like to do, this kind of stuff.
Does that check look into the issue of foreign interference?
I don't believe so. Not the 2019 nomination, no, I don't believe so.
Do you think it would be valuable to do that in the future?
Sure, but I don't know what that means. I don't know what like, are you saying that you require every candidate's campaign to do background checks on their volunteers?
I don't know what other campaigns do. I'm asking you.
I don't know
All right,
what that means, yeah.
Well, I'm asking if you think it would be valuable for your campaign to look into this issue as part of its screening next time.
I think that's something to be kept in mind, yeah.
All right, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. it's now for Government of Canada, so
We have no questions.
no question. And for counsel for Mr. Don.
So, Mr. Dong, let's start with this question, the series of questions around buses. And you remember Mr. Van Aert asked you some questions about whether you might have documents and records of who was on buses. Do you remember him asking you those questions?
Yes.
And he also raised the issue of, talked about where the bus might have stopped as well. Have you been asked that question before about where buses stopped, where the buses rented by your campaign may have stopped?
Have I been asked that question?
Yeah.
Not that I recall.
And the question of who was on the buses that your campaign rented, was anyone asking you that question at any time before today?
Who's on the buses? No, I don't recall right now, but I know the bus was rented for seniors.
All right. And was anyone asking you to see if you could go find documents, as Mr. Van Aert suggested you could go find documents? Before today, was anyone asking you that question?
No.
Okay. And you raised an issue, point, I think it was in response to the commissioner's question to you, which was, you said something about a picture that came from your social media. What did you mean by that?
Well, in the February news article, various pictures were used. I recall a few pictures with students holding my signs in front of a bus with myself. I recognized that picture, and a couple others were taken off from my social media.
And when you read the
Facebook.
article, sorry.
Facebook.
And when you read the article and looked at the picture, was there something wrong with the picture in terms of the article?
Yeah, obviously, for example, the signs had my name and Liberal Party logo at the bottom. Is a clear indication that was after nomination, after I was nominated. So it has nothing to do with the nomination. And I recognize these pictures were taken after September 12th.
All right. And so, and where did that lead you in terms of trying to figure out this issue about buses?
Well, I asked my campaign, people who worked on my campaign, including my wife, do we have any recollection of bus rental and whatnot? And we found out that there were 2 buses rented, and the expenses were filed with Elections Canada, and that's been documented.
Okay. And so were any buses rented by your campaign to transport foreign international students?
Not to my knowledge.
And again, we heard about a bus or buses that transported foreign international students potentially. Did your campaign organize that or pay for that as far as you know?
As far as I don't know.
Okay. And you were asked questions about where you canvass and campaign. Do you ever campaign outside of your riding in terms of a nomination contest?
No.
In 2019, did you ever campaign for any purpose outside of your riding?
No, that's a waste of time.
And do you know of any non-residents from your riding that managed to vote in your nomination?
People who don't live in the riding?
Right.
No.
And did you know, again, as you, either at the time or when you dug into it over the period since these newspaper articles come out, have you ever learned of any breaking of the rules by anyone on your campaign?
No.
And have you investigated that? Have you asked questions to try to figure that out?
Yeah, I check with my key campaign workers such as CFO and, campaign managers and, yeah.
You also heard a suggestion, or you saw it up on the screen in the document that you saw today, I think for the first time, but about fake ID, that people were given fake IDs. Have you ever heard that happened during your nomination?
No.
And what would happen if you did find out about something like that?
I would be the first one condemning it. I think it's an insult to our democratic system. I think if someone wants to use that, take advantage of the process, then I'll be the first one condemning it.
Let's talk about the two Michaels topic that you were asked about as well. So you talked about talking to people at the Consul General, for example. Why would you ever be talking to the Consul General?
As a member of a riding that has a large portion of Chinese Canadian residents, it's part of my job. I see it as part of my job to talking to foreign diplomats, PRC in this case.
Why is that part of your job?
One is to exchange, views on the state of, say, anti-Asian racism. I think that's a common interest. The other thing, from time to time, we help constituents to obtain visa, advocate on their behalf if they face difficulties with the local consulate. Yeah, so my office will act in that capacity.
And so that's connected to you being an MP, you're saying?
Yes.
Do you have any other roles that would cause you to have connections with Chinese officials or diplomats or China in any way?
I was elected by my parliamentary colleagues to be the co-chair of Canada-China Legislative Association. So it's within my responsibility to have regular conversations with the Chinese ambassador. And also the counterpart, which is the China-Canada Legislative Association.
And when you say your colleagues, which colleagues elected you?
MPs and senators.
Okay. Who is the other co-chair of that?
Co-chair, Senator Paul Masco.
And we've heard a lot and talked a lot about your connection with Chinese Canadians in your riding. Do you have connections with any other community within your riding?
Yeah, in my riding, there's a significant Armenian community. The community center is there, so I have regular conversations with the Armenian ambassador. In fact, I'm a co-chair of the Canada-Armenian Friendship Group. Also that I've had, regular conversation with, not the current one, the previous High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, as well as I'm executive on the Canada-Ukraine Friendship Group. So I've had opportunity to meet with Ukraine parliamentarians and diplomats.
And last, when we talk about the call you may have had with the Consul General at some point, that we saw details reported on the screen again. You said that conversation would have been in Mandarin?
Most likely, yes.
Okay. And at any time, would you ever have been saying to the Consul General, well, sorry, let me ask it this way. What was your message to him when you talked about the two Michaels?
I've always advocated for the early release and improvement of their condition. And, I would, when Chinese diplomats, including him, compared to the Michael case versus the Meng Wanzhou, who was detained at the time, I would have pointed out the differences in judicial process. There's lack of transparency on the Chinese part.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Re-examination, Maître Rangel?
Thank you.
No re-examination. Thank you. So it's time for a break. We'll come back at 4:20.